Hello, everyone. Good morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're listening. Welcome to this week's installment of DappRadar Market Movers. I am Pedro, and today with me, Boris Ribo. How are you doing today, Boris?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Always happy to be here.
Same here. It looks like summer finally arriving. So let's keep with the positive news because today we have a really interesting topic to discuss. We have just published our monthly report as each month. And besides, despite the apparent crash in the markets, we have good news for you. We have analyzed the entire industry and we have find out some interesting trends that are affecting all categories, NFTs, DeFi, and games, and we would like to share that with you. So before we begin, just want to remind everyone here that, as always, we will be recording this session, so you can catch up that later in DappRadar's YouTube channel, where you will also find hundreds of educational videos and market trends analyses. So let's go into May. May, to be fair, was diminished and was tainted with one of the biggest crashes in the history of cryptocurrencies. And yeah, we're talking about the situation with Terra. That definitely affected the industry, which was already, in a bear market due to the high pressure from the macroeconomic uh, side. But let's see what is happening inside the industry, Boris. And why don't you start telling us what was the impact from Terra on the industry? How was the activity affected, and yeah, what were the biggest implications that we see?
Well, in general, DeFi lost just under a half of its value. The entire industry went down by 45%. And just the overall loss of finances with Terra in total after the crash, nearly 60 billion got wiped, just absolutely destroyed in terms of people's savings and investments. And for reference, in terms of that's pretty much three times the capitalization of Deutsche Bank. So imagine three Deutsche Banks just suddenly went poof and disappeared.
Yeah, it was even larger than the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008, which was accounted like for around 50 billion. This was 60 billion, so the largest loss of wealth in modern history. So yeah, not good at all.
Yeah. Um, Terra was the second biggest DeFi chain after Ethereum, and its loss naturally affected all the other chains. We saw a contraction in Ethereum by 35%. We saw a contraction in Binance.
We're talking about total value locked, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ethereum lost 35% of total value locked. Binance lost 27%. Solana lost 37%. One of the major losers was Phantom that lost 62% of its total value locked. And paradoxically, Tron actually had an increase by 47% month over month.
Yeah, that's really interesting and curious case. But yeah, let's move on.
Uh,
So yeah. Sorry, just to comment here, like DeFi was hugely affected, and since the bear season started in late January, when we start to see the price of all cryptos coming down, DeFi was at that point the category that was feeling the most this negative effect of the markets, because at some point, to some extent, NFTs and games are resisting the crash, and we will dive deeper into that situation in a bit. But talking about DeFi, due to the underlying prices of the currencies, of course, if the price start to go down, yeah, the interest of people losing also yields and potential earnings can also, yeah, hinder the interest of this category. And this is exactly what we are seeing, where the leader in this regard, Ethereum, is even losing 35%, if I'm not mistaken. So at some point, yeah, the interest in DeFi at all is decreasing. But on the other hand, there is a huge gap left by Terra, right? Terra, you said that was the second largest DeFi ecosystem before the Terra event, that Terra collapsed, and there will be a handful of players trying to gain that market share left by Terra. So it
If I, sorry, go
yeah,
on.
no, go.
This, to be honest, I apologize. This kind of slap or an exogenous shock to the entire DeFi system kind of reminds me of a parallel that happened. If anybody was in the German-speaking sphere of finances, we had a similar case happen with Wirecard, where it's essentially the analogous to PayPal within the
Yeah,
German-speaking sphere of influence, and where people used it for transactions, for loans, and all sorts of stuff. And it was one of the biggest unicorns and one lauded as best fintech projects to come out of Germany. Which unfortunately, as it turned out in 2020, it all was fabricated, and the entire bank sheet has been fabricated for nearly a decade. So pretty much starting from 2012, all the balance sheets have been from every quarter to every other quarter have been fabricated, and just millions and millions of euros just absolutely got washed down the drain. So this, of course, why am I telling you this? Is that of course this is it's a shock to the system. A lot of people are going to feel the pain, and for a shorter while, people are going to be very reticent in investing in it. But I
yeah.
think what will come out of it, I mean, what essentially is coming out of the German system, is that people realize that, okay, it was a very, very painful, failed experiment, but there's no avoiding it, and the country needed to modernize. And the reason why it happened is because the country was kind of stagnant when it came to financial development. I would say the parallel also goes there, is because in DeFi we're also needed to innovate. We're also needed to grow. And yes, people are going to feel pain, but then this is going to be another stepping stone and a building block for our future ecosystems to make sure that these kind of things won't happen, and people will double and triple check and be more sure that whatever is built in the future will be more resistant.
Yeah, I mean, as with everything in life, we can see the glass full empty or half full, right? Half full or half empty. Um, and in this case, we can see that Terra collapse as an opportunity to learn and to build from here. I'm pretty sure that regulators are already accelerating their policy making, their policies. There is a legal situation still in South Korea with Do Kwon, the founder of Terra. They are still investigating because a lot of investors lost billions, but also hundreds of dApps. Imagine hundreds of startups that were already developing on top of Terra lose everything. So it's not just speculator investors, also a lot of projects and startups, blockchain startups that were building on top of Terra. So definitely it's not an ideal situation. But at the same time, you can see like regulations are going to be moving forward that should benefit the entire DeFi ecosystem as a whole, and also it's a learning for all other protocols, right? You mentioned Phantom. There is also Solana. There is also Avalanche, and a myriad of blockchains that still use algorithmic stablecoins that basically are stablecoins that, to maintain their peg to the dollar, are use machine learning and other type of mathematical calculations to remain pegged. This was the case of Terra. And there we also have other type of stable coins like collateralized, under collateralized or over collateralized stable coins, which have proven to be a bit safer than algorithmic stable coins. So also give a glimpse of this difference in what we have as investors of DeFi investors in the market, and people can also start learning about more about the industry, what happened behind the Terra, why did the price of Luna went down, why the price of UST went down, and so on. So of course it's a shame, and it's very bad for people that lost money. Personally, I lost money too, in Terra, but you can always see the positive here. So yeah, and also there are going to be more blockchains that are going to benefit from this, from the void left by Terra. And I don't know, Boris, if you have, yeah, which blockchain do you see taking advantage of this opportunity?
Just for reference, I want to contextualize, because when people say, big numbers, a lot of these numbers are untouchable for people, because most of us didn't have that much money. But just for reference, for anybody who invested in Terra at the height, let's say you invested 100,000, so by that time, after the collapse, your savings would essentially be from 100,000, that would be worth just under $2,000 if you invested. So that's literally 90% of everything wiped out.
Oh,
But
99, 99. Yeah.
yeah, but to answer your question, uh, to be honest, um, we may even see a completely new player emerging. And as I say, everything abhors a vacuum. And since the second ecosystem got wiped, there will be a lot of other ecosystems trying to vouch for its place. Maybe we'll see, because Tron is riding high right now. Possibly it will continue that momentum and start developing itself into the second biggest ecosystem. On the other hand, the Binance Smart Chain has been here for quite some time and has proven
Yeah.
itself. So possibly it will also try to. Uh, I want to use the word cannibalize, but it sort of isn't appropriate here. But muster in on that lost value, and I would definitely try to fill the gap that was left by Terra.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Like Binance was the second largest DeFi ecosystem for most of the 2021, and it was until Solana, Avalanche, and Terra started to really grow that was the time where Binance really started to decline. But yeah, you need to consider what I am personally looking forward is a lot of people is really bullish on Solana, and we see activity on DeFi dApps picking up, like Orca Finance and Saber and Solent, right? These
Mm-hmm.
DeFi dApps in Solana. But at the same time, you see all the problems that this blockchain has, right? It was even halted at some point last week because it was not synchronized. There was a 30-second gap between the block production, so they needed to halt up the entire network. So I would look up into, let's say, less popular blockchains. Three that I am personally bullish on is the first one is Kronos, the crypto.com blockchain. I think they can do really interesting stuff in terms of DeFi. They can really play well with their products and offering APYs in a friendly manner to people. That could be interesting. But also we have the rise of layer two scaling solutions, right? Also last week we saw that the Optimism airdrop finally happened. That is a network to really keep an eye on, same as for Arbitrum, right? These two layer 2 Ethereum layer 2 solutions are really worth taking an eye on, because basically they allow you to transact basically gas free. Instead of paying $15 in Ethereum for a single transaction, you would pay not even a single penny for a transaction in one of these two layer 2 blockchains. And the last one I wanted to talk about is Near. I think Near is doing a really good job in structuring its ecosystem, which is really DeFi oriented. One dApp that I personally like in the Near is their bridge, which in my opinion is one of the more secure bridges out there. Um, so it's a blockchain that it's a layer one but scaling solution still, and yeah, I would recommend you guys to keep an eye on near as well. So that's in terms of DeFi. So yeah, definitely DeFi took a big hit, and it was widely expected. But at the same time, let's see which new players emerge. How about NFTs?
I want to
What
finish
happened
DeFi. Sorry,
Okay,
just
cool,
want
fair
to
enough.
finish
Yeah,
with
yeah.
DeFi on a positive note that I want to congratulate Uniswap for
Yeah.
reaching 1 trillion in all-time transactions. So well done on them, and I hope they keep growing in the future as well. Sorry that segue, but I think it was
No,
just
no,
nice to
no.
mention.
Good. Congratulations to the Uniswap team. Indeed, yeah, it was one of the first OG Dexes, the OG DeFi players, and probably most of us enjoyed the Uni airdrop. And yeah, congratulations, passing 1 trillion transaction in historical volume, the first DeFi dApp to do that. So yeah, big milestone there. Cool. Yeah, good that you mentioned that, Boris. But now let's speed up and go to NFT land. What's happening in the NFT, because people is talking that NFTs are dead, that trading volumes are way down. Yeah, we have hit the peak, and now we are going to the bottom of NFTs. What can you say about?
So here's the deal: is that I mean, yes, we are down, and months over months we actually saw a contraction of 20% in terms of overall volumes. But important, but it's in when you measure it in USD. Essentially, what we have, we're double dipping into the bear market trend. Wherein, first of all, we saw on one hand the drop in the absolute price of Ethereum, so naturally people lost there. And then, of course, the overall trading also went down. So people lost there as well. So, again, as I said, we're double dipping into the bear market. But if
Yep.
you extricate those two movements and examine them separately, the movement in Ethereum only dropped by 6.5% months over months. So actually, it is within acceptable reasons. Within not reasons, within acceptable boundaries. And what we actually have from traditional economics, then when something becomes cheaper, that of course accelerates the trading activity because a lot of things which were previously outside of a lot of participants' budgets suddenly became
Yep.
affordable.
Yeah. So there is mixed message, right? So if you go and see, let's say, our rankings, and you will see that the trading volume in OpenSea, for example, is down 25% from the previous month, and the entire volume of the industry is 20 down, right? So that means in terms of US dollars. But as you guys know, the price of ETH has been taking tumbles. So in fact, when you analyze the NFT volume by USD, you are already formulating a downside effect of the price of ETH too. So what Boris is trying to say here, if you analyze only the total volumes generated in ETH, yeah, we are still down, but it's not the 20-25% that you can see in mainstream media outlets calling out that NFTs are dead. In fact, the volume only decreased around 6 to 5%, which is normal in a bear market, right? So it's definitely a bullish sign to see that the NFT market still keeping its levels despite the bear season. And another positive thing that I could see, and we can read in this report, is that the sales counts, the number of trades actually increased a bit. We registered around 7 million different NFT trades, which is slightly higher than April and higher than March. So the demand for NFTs is not decreasing. Actually, it's increasing. We are seeing more trades, more traders, and so on. So we can say that NFTs are more alive than ever before, right? And which collections made strides this month? Because last month I remember Moonbirds were the biggest, let's say, the biggest new players, the new kids on the block that made really an impact. They quickly grew in price from, I don't know, from a free mint to 20 ETH, which was impressive to see. But similar stories unfolded this month. So, what were the biggest collections this month, Boris?
Yeah, well, that's actually a nice segue. Well, what we saw is that a lot of the blue chip established collections, because their prices were so high and out of the reach a lot of people, and they basically have, I wouldn't say no space to grow because that's false, but they are really pushing it, their ultimate ability to grow anywhere. So naturally, people started selling them and buying into the new collections. And to answer your question, the new collections, we had OK Bears, which is a Solana collection that wanted to start a movement that we're all okay, we're all gonna go through this together on happy vibes. They also, I remember when writing the report, looking how people just want to cultivate positive vibes. They wanted to create a merchandising line. They wanted to create a bunch of stores throughout the world where exclusive merchandise could be bought, from clothes to stickers to whatnot. And overall, it's about building a community. And other deed as well when it happened, although it part of the blue chip collection. It was one of the bigger market movers throughout the months ever since the mint happened. But as of recent, and what I want to talk laboriously, the point I want to come is that in recent times we had Goblin Town, a collection which I recently wrote the report on, that defies all orthodoxy and any tradition that we had in any successful project. The team is completely undoxed, if I may use the modern parlance.
Yeah.
They are a complete mystery. The mint was also for free, which again nobody heard of anything like that. So absolutely free mint. And they proudly, well, they know proudly, that's me reading into it, but they do proclaim that there's no utility, there's no roadmap, and yeah, that's it. And they're also checking out on their Twitter. The first community call was them essentially making weird noises and then crude humor, and
Yeah.
also subjectively speaking, of course, to each their own, but the art is also
Yeah.
very, very,
I mean,
very,
no. To be
very
fair about,
sketchular.
I mean, to be fair about the art of goblins. Um, yeah, if for you people that are not familiar with the Goblin Town yet, they are, let's say, ugly pictures of yeah, goblins. But to be fair, it's more difficult to produce ugly art that is still appealing to the eye, which is the case of goblins, right? They are ugly in design, yes, but if you analyze the art carefully, it's a well designed and well curated art, which in many cases it's more difficult to accomplish than designing a beautiful piece that will be, yeah, appealing to the eye by itself. It's just a slight comment to see that even though the team is totally undoxed, that they have no roadmap and it was a free mint, it looks like the project is really well planned. The people behind this project is people that are really knowledgeable about the Web3 space and the NFT in specific. So it still remain a mystery. At some point, people were really talking about Goblin Town being part of Yuga Labs. It still remains a mystery, although I saw a tweet last week, Yuga basically saying we have nothing to do with this collection. But still, it remains a mystery. And as you said, like it's a really unorthodox way of launching a collection. Basically, telling people we are not going to give you any type of utility, but still want you to be part of our community. So it's basically a total community driven project, which also highlights that community is still one of the most valuable factors here in the Web3 space. So really interesting collection indeed, the goblins. Let's see, and what's the floor price of the goblins, because it went from a free mint collection to, I don't know, 5 or 6 ETH, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's last time I checked, it was just under 6 ETH. But you just mentioned community. I'd like to point out the absolute madmen that they are. They actually don't have a Discord channel. There's no associated Discord with it. So how are people supposed to congregate? That's also I don't know what are they thinking. But also to point out, because once I've been researching it, they if you remember in the early 2000s, there was like a genre of flash games where you essentially had to, it was like a mystery thing, and you had to like click small little pixels inside the game, and then it opened like a clue or an item, and then you had to progress, and it's essentially was like a mystery game.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
this is what I've actually noticed with them, because they actually do have a sister website called Goblin Burger Help. And if you go on that website, it's linked in one of the or in one of the tweets of their original Twitter. If you go on there, they actually do have a small mini game where you can design your own disgusting burger made out of shoes and boogers and all sorts of stuff. And if you own a goblin, you can mint that. Again, no idea what you're supposed to do with it, but you can. And they also have a roadmap, but it's empty, and they actually do have the entire team with it. They're all listed as managers or sub managers. They're all managers,
Mhm.
but they are listed, and they are apparently real people as well. So they do. But again, I guess it's all part of the gimmick. They all post in goblin voices, so there's that.
Yeah, it's basically going into a Twitter space to listen to adults do gobbling noises for 1 hour, but still they get like 10K listeners to their spaces. So it's a really interesting phenomenon happening in the NFT space. And of course, the other bigger project, the other big project that made a lot of noise this month was Other Side, the metaverse virtual world project for the Bored Ape ecosystem. Uh, it was actually launched on the night of April 30 in the US. So yeah, you can argue that depending on the region, it was launched on April or on May. But what is interesting is that Other Side helped virtual world projects like the Sandbox, Decentraland, NFT Worlds, and so on. Other Side helped this type of NFT virtual worlds to achieve their best month yet, their best trading month. Virtual worlds generated around 900 million in trading volume, for which other deeds were accountable for 85% of that. So in just 1 month, just to give you guys a perspective, in just 1 month, Other Side was able to surpass historical trading volumes for the Sandbox, for Decentraland, for NFT Worlds, and for a myriad of other virtual world projects that have been alive in the space for a while. So it's really impressive to see the power of congregation that Yuga Labs and the Bored Ape ecosystem has. Definitely one of the leading Web3 brands in the space. But yeah, for me, it's still surprising that other deeds were able to dethrone Decentraland and Sandbox so fast, so fast. And of course, they are doing really interesting stuff. They have partnered with, well, they're backed by Animoca. They are partnering with Improbable. Improbable is a technology that is focusing on getting as much users as possible in the same digital space. This means that if you are online playing in a single space, in a single digital space with 1,000 people, with different avatars that require big processing space, but also 1,000 people speaking at the same time in the same digital space, they are working on a way that you won't have any type of technical issues, either overlapping of voices, either lagging, or so on. So it's going to be a really interesting project, still far from being completed, but really nice to see that the demand is picking up and it's basically powering and fueling all the trading activity in virtual worlds that was decaying a bit since the meta hype cycle, right? But
Mm.
interesting to see.
Yeah, it's actually
Well,
since you used the word decaying, just quickly I want to mention is that unfortunately we are seeing quite, well, not a decay, but a strong contraction in the blue chip collections. We saw Bored Apes that decreased in their floor price from 150 ETH to 93. Mutant Apes likewise dropped by 57% to 18 ETH. And Doodles, that were also one of the larger collections after the release of Duplicator, they dropped from 23 ETH to 12. So, and also the biggest talking point of recent is that Azuki, after one of their founders was revealed to have been involved in multiple scams and rug pulls and otherwise sinister behavior, it actually hit the collection very hard. They went from 31 ETH to 8,
Yeah.
and kind of managed to recover it with their sister project Beans up to 12 ETH, but it still remains to be seen where they're going to go from there, which just goes to show that nothing is certain in there, and the collections that are still managing to retain their price really, they have to put a lot of effort into continuing to be where they are and grow from where they are.
No, definitely very interesting point here. Good that you mentioned that. It is true that in May, what we call blue chip collections, right? The mutant apes, the bored apes, doodles, Azuki, they lost value. But it was due to different reasons. One of the reasons was definitely the success of the new collections. We talked about goblins and we talked about other side, but there are a wave of new collections like the not okay bears that then launch in Ethereum, then a lot of Solana collections also launching and getting a lot of liquidity from the NFT market that was probably being thrown at these blue chip collections. And suddenly the demand for those projects started, and the liquidity from those projects started to go into more new projects, into newer launches. That is one, but also I think these blue chip collections are big enough to have their own cycles. The case of Bored Ape, Mutant Apes, and the Doodles is really similar. Why? Because to get access to the other side means you needed to the Genesis other side means you needed to hold Bored Apes and Mutant Apes, right? So the days before the other side launch on April 30, the price of this collection really started to go up and actually reached all-time highs. Bored Ape reached around 200 ETH, and then Mutant Apes also reached almost 50 ETH. So once the mint concluded, it was natural to see a contraction, and it was actually healthy. You cannot keep going all the time upwards, right? And the same happened with Doodles when they announced that all Doodle holders were received a duplicator. The price started to go up, and once the duplicator was launched, yeah, the price started to consolidate, and then boom, we go down. The case of Azuki is entirely different, right? The case of Azuki was also a frightening moment for the NFT community. How a Web3 brand that has grown so much, like what Azuki is doing, it's frightening to see how easy it is now to the cancel culture, right? How easy it is to cancel a people, and also how, yeah, let's say fragile are still these persons backing up these projects, that any of your actions that is stored in Twitter history can come 5 years later to haunt you. So it was a good lesson learned also, the Sagabond drama phase. That, so yeah, Suki lost 70% of its value. Fortunately, some of the rumors were not completely proved. Azuki, I think, did a good job of communicating what was happening, so the trust at some point in their community started to come back. And yeah, both projects, Beans and Azuki, started to climb back in price, because the Beans were also hit hard. They were around 3 ETH and fell to, yeah, like 0.7 or 0.8 ETH. But yeah, they're a bit back on track. So fortunately, we also see that. And another point that it's interesting to me from of the NFT market, what we are seeing recently is the wider competition that we are seeing between NFT marketplaces, right? OpenSea still remains the big dominant player, but there are new players coming out there. Do you want to elaborate more on this, Boris?
Yeah. Since we're already going over our time, I want to go over this quickly. So generally, OpenSea still remains king, and they control currently. If you look at all the trades that are happening, of which there are 3.71 billion, so out of that, OpenSea dominates 63.3%. Then we've got Magic Eden, which is 6.5, Axie Infinity, Atomic Market, that are about the same at 0.2, 0.3. We have X2Y2,
Yeah.
and the second one, which I'm leaving the best for last, which is LuxRare. Now, LuxRare had a bit of a controversy before where they had organic and inorganic trading. So once you, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, Hildobby, who is a Web3 data scientist, he created a formula to extricate all the inorganic trading. So once you remove that from the formula, OpenSea still remains very dominant. 3/4 vote trading still remains an OpenSea, and LuxRare is pegged down from 23% down to only 8.1%.
Yeah,
So
we're seeing a complete evolution of the NFT market, also reflected in these NFT marketplaces. More healthy competition to OpenSea coming from different dApps, which is always great to see.
yeah, I'm glad that we're going somewhere with this. Like, I agree. It's glad that we have all these marketplaces and they're evolving, and they should be evolving and getting a bigger slice of the market. But by traditional standards, OpenSea pretty much still has the monopoly on the NFT trading market.
Yeah, and still OpenSea is not resting, right? They just acquired Gem, which is also interesting, an interesting perspective. Why? Because we are seeing an increasing demand. More people is starting to explore NFTs through NFT aggregator marketplaces aggregators, which are basically platforms that putting everything in one place, whether it's LuxRare, OpenSea, or X2Y2, you can use Gem or Genie and start to look what's happening at a collection level in the biggest marketplaces, also Rarible and so on. But we are seeing how these marketplace aggregators are becoming more popular, and actually OpenSea acquired one of those, which is Gem, and the other big one is Genie. But besides that, OpenSea also has just launched a new user interface. Some people like it, some people don't, but I'm pretty sure they did a lot of A/B testing, so probably it's going to become popular. And finally, they also launched Seaport, which is a really interesting the approach that they are taking. Basically, Seaport is an OpenSea source repository where you can easily basically launch an NFT collection just using the open source code released by OpenSea that is called Seaport. But at the same time, you see the activity picking up in Solana, so naturally, Magic Eden and their native marketplaces are going to also be eating some part of OpenSea's dominance. We see art marketplaces like Foundation and Particle Collective in Avalanche also eating a bit of OpenSea's launch. So it's great to see competition rising up. And finally, LuxRare. Yeah, you mentioned we start using Hildobby's formula to filter wash trading activity in LuxRare, and positively we see that organic activity is increasing in LuxRare, which is also a good sign of how things are evolving in the NFT in the NFT side. Great. So I'd like to stop right now and ask our audience whether these you have any question, comment, or simply want to jump out and join the discussion.
Anyone? Don't be shy. We're happy to answer any of your questions.
Yeah. In the meantime, let's speak quickly about games, because you know that we normally have a different session for games, but where we will dive way more deeper. But let's give a high level overview of what happened in games this month. Do you have any insights on that regard?
Uh, Blockchain games, as per usual, our thesis still remains strong, is that they're essentially sidestepping the crash that's happening, actually weathering the storm very well. They are the category that pretty much has resisted everything that happened. From April levels, we saw only a small decrease of 5% in users from month over month. Furthermore, the pullback of capital from all the other parts of the crypto economy has fueled more investments into blockchain games, and we saw venture capital pour 725 million into DappRadar to accelerate the flow ecosystem. Um, as well as we saw the many initiatives step up. Well, sorry, many initiatives like Step and Genopet step up to the gamification of everyday activities, where people essentially can move around and generate tokens, which then can be spent on doodads and whatnot. Oh, hello, Yashoda.
Hello, can you
Hey,
hear
Hello.
you
me?
should.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm so sorry, Boris. I had to. I just stumbled upon when you were talking, but I have a question about the Goblin NFT. Um,
Yeah.
all these years we have been hearing if there is no Discord, there is no much transparency, and you can't really rely on any such project when it comes to NFT. So when Goblin not having a Discord channel and they are just purely working on Twitter, and I also see that there is very less transparency of that particular project. How a user can be relying on such project, and will there be any chance like going forward where people like the projects might not come up with Discord and just completely rely on Twitter? Or what's the trend? Is Goblin going to create this trend of not having a Discord server, or how is it? It cannot be purely community. Also, there should be some, uh, transparency even to community to believe in it, believe in such projects.
Uh, well, unless they're very old school and they decide to go into even more obscure gaming, you know, communication channels like Mumble or Ventrilo, then I don't know. Like, I think Discord really created a very uh, universal product, which again, it started in gaming, and then pretty much any single community uses it to congregate, and I think they've made a great job there. So creating a project without Discord, I personally think it's not possible. I think down the line, because as I said, they are, they do pronounce that we're not going to have utility and no roadmap, but they kind of are if you dig deep
Yeah.
enough. So I think in the coming months they will drop a Discord, or somebody will quote unquote discover a Discord where the all the goblins seem to congregate, and it will probably be discovered by a third party and not officially announced as part of the project. So uh, I think part of if that is indeed what they're doing. This is my speculation at the point that they are doing like the word of mouth and unofficial reveals. So probably if they are going to start evolving, it's going to be through third parties or through hearsay, or they'll drop a snippet here and a snippet there for people to theory craft of what it potentially could happen. And because they created this veneer of mystery around them, it people like a good puzzle, people like a very interesting question. So I think in that regard they've done well for themselves of using, like, I know, is it the Streisand effect of using it? The least you want to talk about it, the more people talk about it. So I think that's how they're creating a community right now, only through like hashtag of goblin follow goblin and just communicating within each other. And I think once they hit critical mass, they will open up a Discord and reveal something much bigger down the line.
Yeah,
Well
totally agree with you on this one. I think it's a project that breaks the mold of what we are seeing, and in the end, if you invested in goblins, you are at some point are expecting utility because yeah, the art is unique, but it's not the kind of art that you could display proudly as art NFT. And agree with you, Boris, too, that most projects, I mean, 99% of the projects rely on Discord, and this is the way how to actively manage your community. So I don't know if this project specifically is going to create a Discord, but yeah, it's a need, and actually it created a trend goblins like what we saw in Azuki a couple of months ago with the anime NFTs. There are a lot of projects now with the ending WTF, kind of with ugly art, trying to be mysterious here and then. So they are already creating a trend, but it's really difficult to say that these projects are going to keep their level. I think it's just a hype cycle. Probably goblins will come out of this hype cycle as a leading one, a top NFT project, but difficult to envision more projects following the line of how they managing their community. Does that answer your question?
yes, it does. I just hope they come up with some nice roadmap and utility, and of course, Discord.
Yeah, let's
Thank you.
see. I mean, still the mystery is part of their game, so probably they will remain mysterious until somebody claims their project as their own, and yeah, they can be more open. But until then, it's yeah. I mean, it's also good to see a new a new project breaking the mold of NFTs.
Yeah, I guess so. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashara.
No worries. Hey, Baldy, hello. Always nice to see you.
Always nice to see you guys too. So I'm always trying to grow my community, and I'm part of. I play a lot of different games. Alien Worlds is just huge. While my game and this other game I play, Penops, is pretty small. Alien Worlds doesn't really seem like a game to me at all. It's just a clicked in mine, and while
Yeah.
our games are real games that take a lot of thinking and strategy, and I'm just wondering how to build out our community bigger, like Alien Worlds, when we have a real offering.
Yeah, I mean it's quite difficult to say, right? It is why McDonald's is so big and Arby's not, but uh, to be fair, like what Alien Worlds had is being one of the first, right? And when you are one of the first, people will follow, and yeah, basically keep using if you're consistently updating your products and revamping your offering itself. So it's difficult to say because I had to agree on this one, that at some point the entertainment factor in Alien Worlds is pretty much lacking. They have launched a new game, let's say mini game on Binance, which is called Missions, that it's a bit more interactive, but still far from what we are used to. Well, people that like me that play video games, or Boris that also is a big gamer, people like us that are really playing a game to spend some time immersing ourselves in the world of these games. You're not getting the same feeling in some of these games. So how can you grow your community? I mean, first being very making sure that your community is quite active on Discord, right? That is point number one. But also at some point you need to question yourself whether it's worth basically spending some money in marketing. But to do that, you really need to be sure that you have a product in place to offer to a wider audience, because you don't need to spend 20K in marketing if you will still be developing your product. So when you have your product in place, it can be a good idea to, I don't know, to explore some other options like marketing campaigns, collaboration with some influencers in the space, exploring other social media like not only Twitter, but Instagram and TikTok, and for games, Twitch and YouTube are also really important. But of course, there is not just one question. There are a lot of factors to see, and yeah, I mean, like Alien Worlds is one of the biggest projects that also had the support from Wax, right? Because they helped Wax to become one of the most used blockchains. So there are a few factors to consider why they are in the place they are, and what can other projects do to try to grow their community.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Pleasure.
I'll have to agree with Pedro here. The principle of if you build it, they will come. And if you have a good game, then people would naturally, by word of mouth, if it's enjoyable, people would start playing it, and then naturally will grow. Like from my personal example, a game that started very small was Super Animal Royale. It was just, it was started during the hype of battle royales, and was just a small 2D game made in Flash. And the developers, for the first couple of months when it started, it was an alpha. It really struggled, but after they got their the solid loop of you play, you die, they balanced all the weapons and everything. It started getting really intense and really fun, and since then it just continued growing. Oh, we seem to have lost Pedro there. Hey yo.
Oh no, I'm here.
Okay.
Hi.
So yeah, it's just if you build it, they will come.
I don't know if it's all that, because we're one of the first ones on the chain too. I mean, we came out in EOS a few years ago, and it's a solid game. I think the devs run on if we build it, they will come, and they haven't been coming.
Are you listed
in the
on
numbers
DappRadar?
that other people.
Are you listed on DappRadar?
Yeah, we run about, I think we're about 20 or 25 or something like that right now.
Okay.
Where is your game?
I just feel like we could be a lot bigger. And
Yeah, what's the name of your game?
Prospectors.
Oh yeah.
Prospectors.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And then our Weekend, who does Prospectors, also has Our Planet.
Yeah. Interesting case of study indeed. So yeah, probably let's keep this conversation and let's revisit it in a couple of weeks to see if we come with some ideas.
Oh, cool, man. Thanks.
No worries.
No worries.
Made after death. How are you?
Hi. I was just wondering if you were gonna I'm on a game called Rollercoin at the moment. It's not on any blockchain itself, but you can mine cryptos by buying miners from it, which are like NFTs, but they're not. And it does seem a little bit dodgy. I've got several complaints I've routed stuff before, but you cannot we're in a market up almost for these crypto games that aren't on a blockchain itself, but you can mine crypto from it, or you can get crypto from it, or it's about crypto, but it's just not on a blockchain.
Just a cursory look on it as I'm sitting there right now. I mean, it markets itself as a mining simulator. So I wouldn't say that it's actually mining, it's just simulating of the actual mining.
Yeah, but I've had payouts from it. You can mine BNB, you can mine all sorts of stuff on it. and they do pay out. It's just it's not on a blockchain. Their actual coin, roller coin, it's like it's a stable coin, but it's not on any blockchain. You can buy it for $1 with any other currencies that you can put onto like their thing. You can send Matic, BNB, all sorts of stuff. I don't know if it's a pyramid scheme though.
First time
Yeah,
sorry, go
go,
on.
Boris.
Oh.
No, go.
All right, it's the first time I hear about it. Actually, it piqued my interest. After this, I'm gonna look into this because it honestly does sound like too good to be true. It's not on any blockchain, yet you get payouts, and then you can convert them into hard currency or any other token or coin that you want. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does sound kind of fishy. But then again, maybe it's all legit.
If they've sold what they said they've sold, they're like billionaires. It's like Elon Musk owns this thing.
I mean, for me, it's difficult to think a reason I would invest in a I don't know, in what is like a digital asset, or I don't know, but it's not on the blockchain, because in the end you're losing all the properties that a blockchain asset has, right? So for me, it could be really difficult to put my hands on it, to be very honest. Like, if in the blockchain, at least you have the trust of the network, you have security, but most importantly, you are pretty sure that you are the owner of the tokens or the NFTs that are associated to your wallet. It's the same case the same example that we use all the time to explain the difference between assets in traditional games and assets in blockchain games, right? Where NFTs are really entitling ownership to a certain wallet. Whereas, for example, if you buy a skin in Call of Duty or in Fortnite or whatever, if you're banned from the server, if you misbehave, or basically just the server closes for any reason, you lose all your money, you lose all your assets. So I think it's the same rationale here. And also, why would you like to have, let's say, cryptocurrencies that are not real cryptocurrency? So for me, it would be kind of a red flag. Although there are products like Revolut, this digital bank, you can buy cryptocurrencies in Revolut, which in fact you're not buying the real cryptocurrency. You're just buying a representation of a token that you can just basically buy and sell, like a trading product whenever you want. I don't know. I think this is the case with your game, but I would be really, really careful with that. For the reasons previously explained.
Yeah, I've started to be careful with. Like, there is a few like red flags that I feel like have been thrown up, but it's been going for over 2 years now. And then when I joined it, it'd been going for 2 years then, so it's been going for about 4 or 5 years now.
I mean, and
they do payouts as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's a fraud or a scam. Like, I'm not familiar with this project, but I'm just saying, like, be careful. Don't put all your eggs in this basket. Especially, you normally don't put all your eggs in one basket, but especially in these fishy cases, you don't want to lose everything to a scam project, right? So just be careful. It's okay to interact, but just with some with some restrictions and with some caution.
I understand. Yeah. So basically, no to putting up like games that aren't on blockchains, but the part of crypto thing. But you can't. I know what you mean by it. There's no transparency. You can't see what's going off in background. Anything could be going off in background, and no one can tell because it's not on blockchain. You can't see transactions. You can't see orders. You can't see token supply and all that.
Nothing. Yeah, in the end, it's a very centralized approach to enable trading. So yeah, be careful.
Yeah. Right, I'm leaving the stage. Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you for your question.
No worries.
Yeah, Boris, I think time has run out. Any closing remarks for today?
Lastly, on a bit of a sour note, but I always find a bit of irony in it, is that since we're talking about NFTs, the last thing I would say, the biggest loser of NFTs in the crypto markets was Coinbase. After having a launch of 2.5 million in April, and their stock price just absolutely plummeted, and is going, if I'm not mistaken, it went from, on the IPO, started at 250, briefly went to 350, and now they're hovering at 66. Personally, I blame Jim Cramer from MSNBC's Mud Money, because anytime he predicts anything, it always goes in the complete opposite direction. And when he predicted that Coinbase is going to go through 400 and up, it just literally, since that day onwards, it just went down. So it's a shame, but unfortunately, like everything in this universe, nothing can go up forever.
Yeah, actually, good point. People at some point thought that Coinbase was going to dethrone OpenSea, but yeah, I mean, they started to screw things up since their Super Bowl advertisement. So yeah, it's not going well for Coinbase, but still. Thank you, Boris, for your insights as always, and a big thank you to all of our community for being active and yeah, for asking your questions, your valuable questions. And before we close out, remember each week at the same time, market movers discussing different trends and topics affecting the crypto market, and the DappRadar mid sessions where Ian talks down with relevant crypto projects in his AMA weekly events. Also, friends, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and social media channels, Twitter, Discord, Instagram, and YouTube. And that would be all for today. Wish you a lovely evening and have an amazing weekend. And until next time. Bye-bye.
Best, everybody. Best wishes.